Hey everybody, it's Chris Plant, editor-at-large at Polygon.com. I'm here with the studio head of Treyarch, Mark Lamia, and we are going to talk about the overall tone of Call of Duty Black Ops 2. One of the things that you mentioned in our meeting was that you wanted to keep the game grounded, that it shouldn't get too far into kind of the sci-fi stuff, and I was hoping you could kind of expand on what that means.
Yeah, I think, when you say you're making a game that's set a decade or 13 years out, that could mean a lot of things to a lot of different people. And I bet if you ask people, it's like, what does that look like? You're not likely to get many of the same answers. And yeah. I can tell you when you get around a group of game designers, you're definitely not going to get the same answer. So what we did is we really sort of entrenched ourselves in trying to make sure that, the fiction that we were going to create had to be plausible. It had to be grounded. But at the same time, not get too conservative with it because, it was interesting to note that as we were doing that, oftentimes we found ourselves being a little too conservative at times. It's really surprisingly. So what we did is, aside from doing research on sort of emerging technologies and drone warfare and advancements in robotics and AI, we brought in some experts to help us. And one of the experts that we brought in, Peter Singer, who's an author of a book called Wired for War, was very influential. He talked about how really over the course of this next decade, you are going to see a prolific rise in the use and advancement of these technologies. And he was not only helpful in helping us identify some of those trends and how that's going to be used in the battlefield in the future. He was also helpful in sort of guiding us because there's a lot of things that are out there that, what are the things that might be more considered, vaporware and what's maybe more practical. Just because something exists and is plausible doesn't mean it might. At the same time, we had to make decisions about gameplay and making sure that fit as well. But it was important for us to make sure that if we're going to create this setting in the future, that it retained the characteristics of how we create our historical pasts. Yeah. And our process was very similar in that way. It's like, it's well researched. There has to be some kind of, plausibility, some kind of story link that makes sense for players because we want to bring people along in this, and you don't want to ever have that disconnect that, okay, this doesn't feel, plausible or practical. And so really we have to think of how's the world going to unfold in the future, not just how is warfare going to unfold. It's like, how is the world going to unfold? So we were looking at everything from advancements in the warfare and being able to justify every single weapon, attachment, setting that we were coming up with to what's the geopolitical situation going on in the world of a fiction that we're creating and making sure that we could set that up plausibly.
Yeah, well that's what's interesting about it. It seems like Black Ops 2 is, it seems like a more violent fiction than Black Ops 1. It's funny to call a Call of Duty game subdued, but Black Ops 1 was, compared to the Modern Warfare series, it was kind of surgical. There was these strike missions that didn't make the headlines news. In the demo we saw, Los Angeles blew up, so I'm sure that showed up on a few networks. Do you think, is that kind of the overall tone? Is getting kind of more Hollywood, or is that kind of just a mission?
Well, that was a particular mission in the story where you take a theme like the advancements that you're having in robotics and AI and drone warfare, and you take a theme and a reality like cyber warfare that's going on, and in our fiction, you put those two things together, and we create a scenario where if this villain has infiltrated the military infrastructure and has now turned the tables. What was once the advantage in warfare is now your disadvantage. You know? And so that's that scenario.
Natural,
And
it's a scary future.
And if you're playing the game, obviously your job is to go in there and stop what's going on or to unravel it.
No, I've always wondered, because I love these type of games, I'm sure you do, but they're dark. This is a really dark scenario. What do you think it is about these really kind of morbid, cities we know and love are being destroyed that just attracts so many people?
I think just the fiction of being able to go in there and do something about your fears, right? You are playing a character where you can actually do something in this situation, as opposed to being the victim of it.
Yeah.
And it's like, why do people like those kinds of movies, or comic books, or whatever it is? They're just they're this part of our fiction, and it's a story that I think is intriguing. I think I think this fiction is really intriguing because it's these things haven't happened yet, and may never happen, right? But certainly a lot of people will be aware of some of these issues that we have in the world as you look forward in the future.
The Black Ops in the real world are maybe a little bit better than the Black Ops in the video game world, I guess we can hope. But one more thing about the actual Black Ops role. In the previous game, they were kind of at the periphery of these major events. Are they still there, or are they kind of
absolutely? Yeah, the level that I showed you was a particular level where a lot of things have converged for sure. Like, this is where that place in the fiction where a lot of things have converged. There's going to be a lot of events that total deniable operations that nobody knows about or knows what's going on, and that's part of, I think, the excitement of Black Ops, is that we can put you in those scenarios, and those are the deniable operations that they're off the radar.
Very cool.
And you're going to have those situations too. So it's a combination of both of those.
We'll get the kind of silent, arrive in the darkness, and then we'll get the big action at the same time.
Sometimes, you're going to have, there's definitely going to be moments where dark things happen in dark places there, for sure. But and there are some of the bigger moments, like we do in Call of Duty games.
Where the Staples Center doesn't see a happy ending. Cool. Well, thanks. If you want to see more, visit us at theverge.com/gaming or polygon.com.